I'd like to call this public meeting to order. It is now 7:03 on July 18th, 2022, and this is a public meeting of the City of Portland's Police Accountability Commission Subcommittee on Community Engagement Events. If the Spanish language interpreter, Luis or Thalia, can you please give the information in Spanish, on Spanish language interpretation?
Buenas noches a todos. Esta es una reunión de la ciudad de Portland, de la Policía de Accountabilidad. Entonces, nosotros vamos a tener interpretación en el lenguaje en que necesita. Esta es una reunión pública.
Thank you very much. The city also offers a ASL interpretation, which is provided by Andrea, forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, and Amanda. You can pin their video feed if that is helpful to you. Finally, the closed captioning is turned on in Zoom as another means of assistance, but please note that this is an automatic captioning service and it is not always accurate. The city supports access to meetings of the Police Accountability Commission and can provide other language support as well. Please email in advance of future public meetings, either as a response to public meeting notice or directly to Police Accountability at portlandoregon.gov to ask for other access assistance, including interpretation in other languages. This is a public meeting subject to City of Portland's administrative code and Oregon state law, and is being recorded. For this meeting, the chat function is enabled for commissioners to communicate with each other. Members of the public will be able to ask questions using the Zoom Q&A feature as the commissioners are presenting and or discussing things. If attendees have questions, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A. We hope to use this feature to help guide our conversations during the meeting and future meetings and agenda topics. We'd like to be clear that not all questions will be answered during the meeting, but if answered, both the question and answer will be visible to you and will be part of the meeting's record. To access this feature, just click on the Q&A icon in the middle of your screen. And I'd like to ask Victoria Lara to do our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Yomide, and thank you. Good afternoon, all commissioners and members of the public. The land acknowledged on behalf of the PAC. The Portland metro area rests on traditional village sites of the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Cathlamet, Clackamas, Panso, Chinook, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Molalla, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River. Indigenous people have created communities and summer encampments to harvest and enjoy the plentiful natural resources of the area for the last 11,000 years. We want to recognize that Portland today is a community of many diverse Native people who continue to live and work here. We respectfully acknowledge and honor all Indigenous communities, past, present, future, and are grateful for their ongoing and vibrant presence. We also acknowledge the systematic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many Indigenous and Native American families today. As settlers and guests of these lands, we respect the work of Indigenous leaders and families and pledge to make ongoing efforts to recognize their knowledge, creativity, and resilience. I will continue with the community agreements. And this time, what we're gonna do, there is 2 pages of these community agreements. And we're gonna have a couple minutes for each individually read these community agreements and reflect on it. Thank you. And now I would like to ask everyone if they are agree to these community agreements. Please, can I have your thumbs up or any sign that you agree with it? Thank you. And I will pass it to Ayomide. Thank you, Ayomide. Ayomide, you are on mute.
Thank you. Um, so now we'll go to the PAC timeline and we'll move that over to our commissioner or co-chair or subcommittee co-chair, Commissioner Teresa. I know, I'm sorry.
You're good. Okay. The commission is currently in the fact-finding phase of work, expected to go into August. It includes hearing from key stakeholders, identifying barriers to accountability in Portland presently, and examining systems of accountability from other jurisdictions. It also includes increased community engagement work, future phases of work. We'll develop the parameters for the new police accountability system before the commission presents that to the city council in 2023 for their consideration and approval. Following today's meeting, here are the next several upcoming meetings of the Police Accountability Commission. The subcommittee will meet next in August. The subcommittee on research will hold its next meeting July 25th. The full commission will continue to meet and hold briefings July 21st with the Albina Ministerial Alliance Coalition for Justice and Police Reform, who is another amicus, as well as City Commissioner Rubio, and July 28th with Portland Police Association, which is the police union, as well as City Commissioner Ryan. There are also some tentative dates posted for August, but these may change. This slide is the current project plan for the fact-finding phase of the Police Accountability Commission's work. It's not their agendas and it's not set in stone. This slide is mostly for members of the public to be able to understand how the commission gets from now through the end of the phase, which focuses on identifying areas of agreement among commission members as to barriers to accountability in the current system, best practices from Portland and other jurisdictions, and suggestions to consider from experts, as well as taking public comment and meeting with key stakeholders. Today's meeting is the yellow box towards the bottom of the screen with the purple border. And today's meeting agenda focuses on receiving updates from and offering support to member leads for the 3 town halls in progress right now. After that, we will discuss 3 parts of the process and how to best implement consistency for what member leads do throughout that process. We will then discuss next steps, take public comment, and adjourn the meeting. And I do have one update prior to moving on to the next slide. And that update is that as of now, I am the current only co-chair for this subcommittee. Commissioner Connie has stepped down, but she will remain on this subcommittee. And that's my update. Oh, and on our next meeting, this upcoming Thursday, we will discuss, we will choose a new subcommittee co-chair to join me.
Thank you. Today's meeting agenda focuses on receiving updates from and offering support to member leads for 3 town hall meetings in progress right now. After that, we'll discuss 3 parts of the progress and how to best implement consistency for what members leads do throughout the process, and we'll then discuss next steps. We'll now move to the discussion. There are 3 discussion parts of the process. The first is the town hall. And the first is from now until the town hall is held. The second. Oh, sorry, I'm moving ahead. So I would like to move on to some report backs first. Does anybody in the group have a report back? Charlie?
Are you wanting to know like what we worked on last week?
Yes.
Operation. I've made 1 contact. I've attempted to make 2 for community engagement folks at NARA and NAYA. I did hear back from NAYA, William Miller, and he is excited to have a meeting and discuss this in further, but I wanted to get, more information before I moved forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Charlie. Commissioner Connie?
Yeah, I was seeking some clarity as to what the ask is. I have like really great relationships with the people that I've agreed to contact, but I don't feel like I understand what the ask is. Like, is it just any meeting? Is it an in-person meeting? Is it with the entire commission? Is it just with our subcommittee? Will we host somewhere? Will they host? Like, there's just a number of questions out there. So I thought if we could gain some clarity on that, that would make the asks much easier.
Yeah, I had a similar situation. I did attempt to make contact with someone, but they ended up not being available because they were on leave. So then I'm in the process of contacting the person who they were redirecting me to. But I also was curious about last time when we met, it felt like it wasn't totally complete in the terms. And I saw the email from Tirsa as well. So that helps. But I think, yeah, a little more clarity would be great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Christian. Co-chair or chair, I should say at this point. Tirsa, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to comment. Christian brought it up. On the email that went out last week. And so I guess basically the report back for today is just wanting to know if that first reach out or has gone out, not necessarily to have dates yet. That's hopefully upcoming, And yeah, so just the report back is to know if any of the subcommittee commissioners have gotten a chance to connect with someone and ask if express our interest in wanting to partner with them for a town hall during our fact-finding phase. I know for me, I reached out to Don't Shoot PDX, Don't Shoot Portland, and Oregon Research Justice Center. I have not connected with someone yet, but I've sent out an email to connect with those organizations. So hopefully I'll be able to connect with someone soon.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate, like, I have a great relationship with all of those organizations. They will respond to me right away, but in the effort to not like waste their time, it's like, it'd be great if we could be like, hey, here's what we're asking, here's what we'd like, you know, because just like a hi, are you interested email, you know, they don't, I mean, I know all of them and how under-resourced and staffed they are. So being as like clear and direct with what we want, I think would be a bit more effective.
Commissioner Ace. Thank you, Commissioner Connie.
Yeah. Hi, good evening. My name is Faith Aiken. I use she, her pronouns. Yeah, I agree, Connie. And I think like when we had talked about it, I don't remember when, I'm losing track of timelines, was that a town hall. The hope is that hopefully some of these organizations have events that are happening that we can be like, hey, can we pop in, whether that's Zoom or whether that's whatever, so that for us, that it's not like we are planning and hosting a million events. And if the answer may be, and I'm not definitively saying this is what it is, I think I'm trying to recall. And if the answer is no, then I think we could, you know, discuss, like, are these events that we want to host ourselves? And from what I recall at our last meeting, we had talked about kind of like a standardized, I don't want to say standardized, that sounds too prescriptive, but like, here are the questions that we're really wanting to hear from community and what we're wanting to share back. And so I do think that spending some time together to really like cement that would be a good use of our time, so that, like you said, Connie, that we're not like showing up and like, I don't know what we're trying to ask here. So I think we could use this space a little bit to do that. That'd be my hope.
Commissioner Connie.
Okay, so to clarify, the ask is, can we participate in an event that you have existing and then add our sort of questions about police accountability to it, either Zoom or in person?
Support staff, but I mean, Commissioner Charlie, let me get her question first.
Okay, so it was also my understanding from the last time we talked about this, that we would have some kind of survey. I'm assuming a paper survey if we have a town hall. And so I'm wondering how we would do that if we did Zoom, because I was just assuming it'd be in person. I was assuming it would be like, I know the perfect spot at NEA. I just had my idea that we would make arrangements to have a town hall there and invite the Indigenous community plus. And I just know the way that my community works, and I wanted to have offer food and an incentive to show and participate in this town hall. So I don't know, that was my thinking.
So thank you, Commissioner Charlie. Before we move on, are there any other actual report backs in terms of any other connections made by anybody? With any of these organizations? Are you guys, Commissioner Connie, is your hand up? Or is it down? And Commissioner Charlie, is your hand up? Okay. Okay. So I'm hearing no, or I'm not hearing any replies, so can I make I'm assuming that no one else has had any other contacts? Okay. Okay, well, let's go to the next portion of the agenda. And not see. So we can go into the discussion. Be brief, be facilitated, be constructive. Let's go to the next one. Oh, where? Okay. So we'll now move into our discussion. There are 3 discussions on 3 parts of the process. The first is from now until town hall is held. The second is after the town hall is held, but before PAC makes a decision on what community input was. And third is related to the process after PAC acts on the issues, on the issue area that community input was given on. So we'll start with our first topic, which is from now until the town hall is held. And that's where most of y'all were talking about. You were getting into that discussion. I just wanted to make sure that we finished making sure that everybody had their report backs. So please continue. What you were, the first portion of this discussion. Commissioner Connie.
Yeah, so it would be great if we could spend some time like honing in on what the requests are of these organizations and what the town halls look like. And if, yes, like we have kind of touched on that there might be a budget for food and things like that, but maybe we could get specific about that so that we can go confidently to these organizations and make these asks with a clear sense of what we're asking.
Thank you, Commissioner Connie. Commissioner Faith.
So Connie, I think I hear lots of good questions. And I guess is the question for us, like, do we want to standardize an invitation of like, is it helpful for us to like come up with some language together of an invitation to organizations, or is that too prescriptive? Like, I hear you, Commissioner Connie and Commissioner Charlie, that you have really strong relationships, and I don't want to be like, here's a script that you have to ask the people that you're already friends with. But I do want to be clear about what we are asking. So maybe having time to really create some points on what we're requesting would be helpful to do right now.
Commissioner Tusa. You're on mute.
Okay, so on the email that went out last week on Friday, there was an outlined attached sort of to provide guidance of like what we can communicate with. Just I found it super helpful. So obviously introducing ourselves, who we are with, and what our work is aiming at the moment, and the purpose of the contact, to see if the organization would like to partner with the PAC to create a town hall, and then the importance of the possible partnerships, of us wanting to hear from members and their network, so that we can make sure that they have an opportunity to influence the change that we are wanting to make to the police accountability system, and then requesting to possibly co-create a town hall with those organizations. And that was included as an attachment on the email that went out on Friday. I guess the nice thing though is that we, like as commissioners on this subcommittee, we can give as much detail as we want to when we are making that contact. And I'm not sure if that answers your question, Commissioner Connie, as to what we may say when what we are looking from when wanting to schedule a town hall with the organizations.
Not really. It's a little ambiguous still. And like, so we're asking for access to their people to create this town hall, or just meet with them and us to have a town hall? Like which one? You're nodding to both.
Okay, yeah, I'm understanding what your question was. That's why I'm nodding. So yeah, so we are wanting to, connect with their community, with their access to members in the community. So that's what, yeah, we're trying to
So they invite
get as
their
much
people.
feedback.
Okay.
Yes, from their people.
And
yeah.
then we kind of run the questions that we need to get from their sort of community that they've already built.
Yes, and we'll talk about what type of questions we may want to ask at those town halls, I believe in the next slide, but yes.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Oh, there you are, Charlie. Sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Charlie. It blends in so well. You're on mute as well.
I know, I need to change that color. It's too.
No.
So I think it would be a good idea to get a basic outline for an invitation. I want to make sure that invitation is worded in a way that community would want to engage. So I don't know if I'm just supposed to meet with the three of us, Faith and Lovisa and I, to create that, or shall we create one together? I think we need to influence that and then take it to my contact at NAIA, and then we can use that to go out to practically the entire Indigenous community. But I'd really like some kind of idea.
Commissioner Faith?
Yeah, I agree, Charlie. I think my preference would be that, because this outline exists, which is super helpful. Thank you, Commissioner Tirsa, for walking through that with us. Is if like each of our little subgroups, like each team lead could write an invitation, so that way it's a little more like tailored to that specific community and like culturally relevant. So if other commissioners in the subcommittee feel good about that, is if like, do we have enough from the outline to be able to write a more tailored invitation? Then that would be my preference, is to be able to, like, Charlie, you and Lavisa and I write one specifically for Naya and Nara. I don't know what others think about that.
I see a thumbs up from Commissioner Connie. Anyone else? Commissioner Christian?
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I wanted to say that I was going to ask a similar question because a standardized invitation would probably need to be altered regardless for different organizations that we're reaching out to. So I think having it done in groups I'm fine with that. If other people feel more comfortable doing one together, we can do that as well. But again, I feel like even if we do one together, it's probably going to have to be changed up a little bit depending on who you're sending it to. So yeah, whatever makes sense. Either way, thank you.
Any other comments? So what I'm hearing is that creating questions that are specifically geared towards the different groups, that you're all in agreement to make that happen, or create some kind of questions for each group to make them more targeted when you're going for your ask. I see a thumbs up from Commissioner Faith, Commissioner Connie, Commissioner Tirsa, Commissioner Seabob, Commissioner Christian, and a nod from John. Victoria, would you mind, is there anything else that you can think, considering that you are an expert in community relations?
No, thank you. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I have been doing, yes, community engagement for 20
Expert.
20 yes, years. And I have been on the boards of Hacienda Latino Network, Causa Pecun, I mean, communities of color and all that. But no, I think what you're doing is pretty good. What I will not worry so much and so many details, I think that the outline that was shared to you on Friday is an amazing outline. The most important, as you mentioned, is the relationship, right, that you have with the organization and the intention. What is the intention? What would you do in this? The organization needs to know we're doing this because we want to change, because the community is outlined in the email. And of course, every organization will be different. Maybe in the summer, some people are on vacations, maybe don't have, but you be very clear and offer options, right? Because community-based organization, everybody reach out to them and ask for help and ask for not just this, but everybody wants to do something with them because they capture this community, right? And the most important is be very simple, very clear, and offer options. Like, do you have a meeting? I think is a very good idea. Do you have a meeting from here to August 30? I just put in the line. To August 30, we want to talk to you. We want to talk to your constituents because this is our intention. Do you have a meeting that you can invite us and you can give us 5, 10, or 15 minutes to talk or do a presentation from here to August 30? First, do you have an opportunity for us to invite your community and give them a presentation of 15, 30 minutes? Is there any day that you capture this community that we can go and present? And this is what we want to do. We just want to inform them what we're doing. We want to reach them and let them know what the commission is all about. And we want to invite them to give their testimony. If you just be very clear, very short, very present, and let us know. And once you confirm one town hall, you can worry about everything that the questions may be and what people will say and what the details. Now, Commissioner Charlie, she's right. I mean, our communities, they like to be in person. They like to have shared food. And there is already something like that. That will be great to take advantage of that. But if you cannot do it, we have done town halls virtually in rural areas with Black and Brown communities. We just finished for doing this project for the universal healthcare. And we have a lot of participants, and it was virtually, and it was people that didn't spoke English. I mean, it is about the relationship you have, but be very clear with the intention. But the first thing is to get you on those town halls. And that email that you have on Friday, because I received the email too, is amazing to get that. I know it feels overwhelming, and I know it feels like, oh, there is a lot of things, but just find out when the meetings are and where you can have 15 to 30 minutes. That's the most important step, and you can do it now with the organizations. And then the questions. And community, as you know, is community. They will talk to you, and you don't, the more authentic and honest and like normal you present, the better for the community. You don't have to have everything and slides and questions and everything. No, it's just talking from you. You are the community to the community. But the most important is just get those town halls, make those calls and find out when you can have 15 to 30 minutes to talk to the community. That's the main important thing. And then you figure out other stuff.
Thank you, Victoria. Commissioner Charlie. Yep, I see you. I'm looking corner more.
So just curious, because I'm out in the Indigenous community a lot and at different events. So I will, of course, ask, but then what about, because I am out in the community so much, like, it would be really nice to be able to have, like, I don't know, a website or something to refer them to this survey with these questions. Like, do we have to wait for the town hall? Can we, like, I don't know, what I'm thinking is to reach more people, get started sooner rather than later for other options. Just a thought, because I am out there so much. Or is that going to get too complicated? Are we just going to go with what we get in the town halls?
So in the chat, Samira put that the PAC accepts advanced public comment from tinyurl.com, Portland PAC comments. So that might be a good starting point, or at least a website that you can utilize. And you can also like, if you utilize that, you can like put a little star or something specific towards community engagement. Like if people are specifically asking about the community engagement, and this might be a good thing to put in the garden plot, Victoria, something to follow up on. I saw a few hands. Commissioner Faith.
Commissioner Christian, did you?
Was your hand up first?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, but I had it was basically answered. I was just curious if we were using the tiny URL as like an ongoing survey thing, and how we would specify that it was for community engagement rather than for future meetings, but then you answered that question. So okay. I don't need to, thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Commissioner Charlie's suggestion around the survey. And I think, I'm sorry, it's been a month since we've talked about this, so my brain is a little fuzzy. I think when we had talked about the survey, the idea was that when we go to our town hall, like Commissioner Charlie, if you and I are there, then we are taking fastidious notes and we're note taking, we're listening. And then the survey is sort of just like a mechanism for us, commissioners to then put the feedback from what we heard into sort of like, so that we're listening for the same things at each town hall and taking notes on the same things. We're not just like all of us randomly taking notes, but that's my recollection. And I don't know that, like, I feel pretty neutral about a general police, like barriers to police accountability survey. Like if it was on our website, I mean, I think that there's probably no, I don't know. My assumption is there wouldn't be any harm in, like, maybe you wanted to come to this town hall event and you couldn't. We'd still love to hear from you. Here's a link where you can provide feedback, or as you mentioned, Commissioner Charlie, having some paper copies for folks who may not be able to, like, you can bring it back to a family member, or they don't feel comfortable giving testimony at the town hall. It would be wonderful to have a mechanism for other folks to be able to participate and offer feedback. That also means like more work and kind of thinking through like how we get a survey out to people, and is it meaningful to do it that way? Like, I think that a big part of our community engagement is also kind of, as Victoria was mentioning, is around like actually engaging and being in community and in relationship with folks. So I think that's why I'm feeling kind of neutral about the survey.
Thank you, Commissioner Faith. Commissioner Sema?
Thank you. Yeah, I do know from experience with in the nonprofit side of things that when there's trying to lower my hand, when there's a collaboration between a public entity like the city and between the city, a government entity, and a nonprofit for doing town halls and informational sessions, is that you empower the CBO to do the communication and allow them to provide the feedback, since we're going to be reaching out to their constituents. So it's typically, I would encourage us to take that route, that as we're working to partner with these CBOs, to have them utilize their listserv, their communication, their form for feedback and questioning, allow them to be able to itemize and prepare and send that back to us as far as the content of the feedback and how it's shared. Typically, that is usually the better way to go, because, you know, obviously those data sets are very powerful and important for them as well, and it's a proper form of collaboration. So I would encourage us to think about something like that. And the second thing I wanted to kind of bring up was, I may have missed it. I miss a lot of things in our emails. I was wondering if we had worked on, or do we need to work on something along the lines of like a mock run a show, or like goals and outcomes specific to how we would get this community feedback, or like exactly what we're asking our CBOs to do in format, you know, and then specifics as to, like, you know, what the goals and outcomes are from as a feedback model from the constituencies that they're going to be reaching out to through this town hall.
Commissioner Faith?
That's super helpful, Seema, that thought of inviting, like, hey, here's a list of some of the questions we want to know, and then offering it to our partners to say, like, obviously one of our well, I don't know if it's obvious, one of our values is that it's as least extractive as possible. Can you help facilitate asking these questions from your community members? So I really appreciate that suggestion. Oh no, and you asked a question at the end. Oh yes, the community engagement framework that we developed way back when in April, I think we'll have some of those like objective pieces and values pieces, but in your question around run of show, I think, you know, what is sort of missing is some of, like, we have the email invitation logistics from Co-Chair Tirsa, but some of those, like at an actual town hall, how are we doing it? I think some of those pieces we would still definitely need to like outline, but I do think that there's places that we can pull from the framework.
Thank you, Commissioner Faith.
And thank you, Samir, for putting it in the notes. The community engagement framework.
Any more comments on what to do first now until the town hall is held, depending on, or yeah, between now and when the town hall is run for each of these communities that you're, I hate to use the word targeting, but that's that's the best one I can come up with right now. Trying to work with. There we go. Commissioner Charlie.
Okay, so I just need some clarity then. Should we just get together, Faith and Louisa and I, and start working on these goals and outcomes we want for this survey or questions we're going to be answering our communities? Or are we going to continue to meet together to create this? I'm still kind of confused about that. And when do we pull from the framework and decide and narrow it down to specific goals and outcomes?
Commissioner Faith.
Okay, so I think this is what is like starting to make sense in my head, is if in this space, we're pulling from the framework and being like, okay, here are the values and objectives from the framework that we would want to communicate in the town hall. I think it would be good for us to kind of standardize a list of questions. I know the research subcommittee did something a little bit similar of, hey, these are the same things we're looking at when we're looking at other jurisdictions. So I think, I don't know that we need to have a lengthy discussion in this space, but for us to maybe come in agreement by email of, here are the questions or the conversation starters we're wanting to have pretty universally at each town hall. And then your last question, was around like each town hall leader, I think would then sort of, based on those, what we've just defined, each town hall leadership group would get together to kind of customize, like, how are we making sure that we're culturally relevant to this specific group?
See a thumbs up from Commissioner Charlie and Commissioner Christian, Commissioner Connie as well, and Commissioner Seymour. Would support staff like to speak on this?
Yeah, just to clarify, the questions might be something worth putting into the conversation on the second discussion. We're currently in the first discussion, because the questions that are going to be asked of community members will certainly influence what's in the report after the fact that member leads fill out to give information back to the full commission. So that might be a good place to sort of separate out that conversation and focus on the event planning component in this conversation, as that was sort of the separate discussion question purpose. And then just one quick other item, in the event that an event is virtual, that's totally fine. If the event is in person, that's also fine. And there is the possibility of, there is a budget for food in the event that it is a in-person event. Just wanted to clarify that as well. I don't have exact numbers at the moment.
Thank you, support staff. I'd also like to just iterate that these things are kind of overlapping just because you can't have one without the other. So thank you for that clarification from the Portland staff. And CMOB, you had a, Commissioner CMOB, you had a question?
Yeah, so is there a budgetary stipend that we're allowing for the CPO? In this case as well, I think this came up before. I don't think we had a certain answer on it.
Yes, the answer to that question is yes, there is a possibility for that. This was suggested going back to, I believe, the very first meeting or second meeting of the PAC in December by a commission member, and it was something that we're allowed to do. I don't have any information on if there is an upper limit to what that can be. Solely an answer yes to the yes no question of can we provide stipends to CBOs for and for those who might not know, CBO is community-based organization. So to provide support for those CBOs, we are able to do it. I just don't know the amount. All I know is that if the question is yes, no, the answer is yes.
Thank you, support staff. Is your hand still up, CMOB, Commissioner CMOB?
Yeah, just to follow up. So I think it would be pertinent, like in our outreach, to be able to kind of know like what exactly we can work with. So the sooner that we can get that, the sweeter it is when it comes to our outreach. And we're not too worried about a ceiling, but the start off is good.
Great. This is going really well, y'all. Any other pertinent, burning questions, comments about this first section of from now until the town hall is held? Commissioner Christian.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, make sure I understood the conversation around the questions, like the standardized questions that we might change for the organizations that we're visiting. That conversation being pushed or split to the next meeting, is that I interpret that as we gather the information as however it comes in through the town halls and then parse it out through those questions, as opposed to those questions being used for the town halls. I was just a little confused. I just wanted to clarify what was meant by that. If someone else understood better than me, please speak up because I didn't understand.
Sorry, we have 3 discussions on today's agenda. This is the first of those 3. And just to clarify my previous comment, would be the second one right after, probably in a few minutes. So.
Thank you. I thought I interpreted it as the one that's in August, and I was like, that's a ways away. Like we need to talk about it now. So I was just wanted to check. Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification. Okay, so just to kind of give our brains a fresh break, we should probably move to how do people feel about having about an 8 to 10 minute break? And then we'll move on to the next 2 portions of the questions that we were discussing for this meeting. It is 7:56. We'll come back at 8:06. Thank you. Thank you and welcome back. Over here. Just a moment. Get myself back to where I was. Okay, so let's go into the second part of this conversation, and that would be, let's look at this. The second, okay, so after town halls are held and before PAC makes decisions on what the community input is on. So basically, what would you be doing, or what would you like to do? And then the third, just because we're going to talk about the first, and it may, or the second, we may kind of weave its way into the third as well. The third relates to the process after the PAC acts on the issue area that community input is given on. So the first portion of this chunk of this discussion is, first of all, just be brief, be facilitated, and be constructive. And let's move on to after the town hall is held and before the PAC makes a decision on what the community input was going to be on. That's where our conversation is going next. And I believe Commissioner Tirsa, your email brought up a lot of this information. So for those who haven't read it, might be a good thing to pull up. Just for the future, be aware of when the staff and commissioner co-chairs send emails. It might answer some of those questions and help with the conversation moving forward. So we all know we have tons of emails, but these are so important. So thank you for that. Who would like to try to start off the conversation? Commissioner Christian.
Yeah, I can start. I read over the email a little bit. I had a question about, or more of a clarification about one of the points that was on it. The direct most incoming questions to the co-chairs. I think I understand it after reading it through again a couple times, but the first time I read it, I was a little bit, I don't know if confused is the right word. I was just curious. I wanted to open up dialogue about it because I was wondering, since we're doing community engagement, and because I know there's a lot of maybe not a lot, but I know there are some regulations and parameters that, on us as public servants or public figures on the committee or the commission, whatever you call it. Sorry, I'm losing track of my question now. Hold on, sorry. I'm talking myself out of a. Oh yeah, I was curious because since we're the ones doing the community engagement, if a question shows up that someone has that we I know that we're supposed to direct those to the questions that require speculation on our part to the co-chairs. I feel like sometimes there may be a gray area because of the culturally specific context that we're talking to the committee, the organizations that we're talking to on. So I don't know if there's any I feel like there might not be, but I was just curious if anyone else kind of thought about that as they were looking at that question, the relationship between having to direct people to another spot when that they might not even know the answer, I guess is the question. I don't know. Someone else jump in. I just was thinking about it when I first saw it and I was curious what other people thought. Thanks.
Commissioner Tirsa?
Yeah, I would like support staff to see if they can answer Commissioner Christian's question.
Sure, yeah. And I'll just mention that I think the guidance in that email from Co-Chair Tirsa was designed to be for questions that might come in during the planning process of a town hall. So this is more about the discussion that we just finished actually, but it may also come up during a town hall. And so I'll just kind of cover that here. The PAC agreed in the internal processes document, there's a communications guidelines in which it basically says that, if it's a question like, what is the commission going to do about the Police Bureau's internal affairs unit? That's a very big open-ended question that would require speculation. A portion of that might be something that's easy to answer. That's on the agenda for our meeting in 3 weeks. You know, that's not speculative in any way, and any member of the commission should feel very comfortable doing that. But the commissioners as a whole agreed under the internal processes document to sort of ensure that for the more subjective things, that there would be full commission co-chairs would be able to answer those questions on behalf of the commission. So, you know, prior, it's if you're in an email thread with someone, it's perfectly fine to just loop in the full commission co-chairs or say, I'll get back to you and just ask them for a quick response. And then during the meeting, that's probably also the best way to go about it. But two of the full commission co-chairs are on here. So perhaps with relation to during a town hall, a question coming up, they can probably speak to how they'd like to receive that question as well.
Thank you for support, staff. Is your hand still up, Commissioner Tirsa? Okay, so can we have the slides up, please? I just want to see again this section. Okay, consistent process from member leads, communicating how PAC used community input back to community members. Thank you. So this is what our next topic is about. Commissioner Faith.
Co-Chair Tirsa, I want to make sure that I understand like this prompt. So how are we communicating in our events? How we'll use the information? Like how will we follow up? So we've listened to you, and then how will we come back? Not literally physically, but how will we communicate back to you what we've heard, or how will it be used? Is that kind of the prompting question?
Commissioner Tirsa.
Yes, so yeah, how do we report back to the individuals that we collect feedback from, whether on how that information was used, or if it was not used? So that's what the question is.
I think one of the ideas that we had previously was, as we talked about this survey where we're taking notes, is that we would just make that public. So the notes that we're taking after each meeting, it would be like Commissioner Faith and Commissioner Charlie, we're at X Town Hall, here are the notes and here's what we heard. So that it would be really transparent. And then I know the comment form has been mentioned, or the public comment form has been mentioned on the site. So perhaps we can leave that linked of if there are ways we've misrepresented. I'm sorry, my husband is putting my groceries. So sorry. Thank you, but sorry. If we've misrepresented folks and what they've said, is if we can, we don't want to be like, okay, here's what Charlie and Faith heard and we heard incorrectly. So an opportunity for people to say, wait a second, this was said and you didn't catch it, to be able to put that in there. That would be my recommendation. How does everyone else feel about having kind of the notes that they're taking on their town halls just posted on our site? As in the documents, we could have I don't know if this technically literally works, we could have a link to the Google Sheet, like people could view what is being entered.
Thank you, Commissioner Faith. I know that was going to be part of the third portion of our questioning, but as I was stating in the beginning, they do kind of weave into each other, because you're creating an event and you're wanting to know what you're doing with the event, what you're doing with the information of the event, and how you're going to be able to document this this information. So it isn't quite as linear as we'd like it to be in this meeting, but that's okay. You guys are still doing a good job in getting through this work. So I'm just gonna repeat the topic that we're actually talking about, which is the consistent process for member leads to follow when communicating community input back to the commission. So basically you're getting information and how you're communicating it back to the full commission is what we're talking about right now. After you've had the town hall.
I'm sorry, I guess I was confused because I was thinking how we're communicating back to the community what we've heard versus, but you're asking how we're communicating back to the commission?
Commission first, yes.
I see.
But they will do, like I said, it's in real time. All this is going to happen, some of it simultaneously, some of it, it's nonlinear.
Totally.
But in a linear sense, after you've gotten the information, how you're going to talk to the full commission, and then you're going to discuss how you talk to the community about how they would want it as well. Co-chair Tirsa.
I really like the idea that Faith proposed. I like maybe if we can have our notes, like share them within amongst commission members, and also possibly maybe have them public for the sake of transparency as well. So I do like the idea of possibly having the notes somewhere accessible, either on our PAC website. I think that would probably make the most sense in terms of how or who, or who will be the person collecting I guess those notes. I'm not sure if that would probably be staff, or if they should be sent to me to send to staff. Some ideas.
So I saw that Commissioner Christian's hand was up. Commissioner Faith, is your hand still up, or is that okay? So I will go with Commissioner Christian first, because we've heard a lot from you, Commissioner Faith. Then I'll go to you, Commissioner Faith, Commissioner Seamob, and Commissioner Charlie. So, Commissioner.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw in, I don't know if it's helpful, but I have some notes from the last meeting where we talked a little bit about this. So I was just going to read some of that stuff off. We talked about having a fillable form, like a Google survey or whatever, for internal use, that could also be shared publicly. I'm assuming, I'm sure it could be easily. That was something that was kind of like a way to standardize reporting information back to the full commission, so it's kind of easily digested every single time. We also talked a little bit about some people preferring to do handwritten notes, and we talked about the idea of maybe having someone or having a way to transcribe those into the digital format so that it's easier to send back, because we're doing everything on Zoom. I'm assuming we're probably still going to be doing stuff on Zoom at that point. Not sure, but that can be an ongoing conversation depending on how stuff shifts. Those are the two big notes that I had. We also had a section in there where we started talking about what is important for us to know, like demographics of attendees and stuff like that. I don't know if that's something that we want to tackle now too, in terms of discussing what would be best to bring back to the full commission. And then those are the notes that I had written down from the first time we met. And then I had a separate question, which is related as well. this is, and this may be answered later in the meeting, so if I'm jumping ahead, just let me know. But I was curious, what we're kind of discussing right now and creating a framework for, will that be brought to the full commission so that other people in the full commission can also do outreach if they want to, or is it just our subcommittee that's conducting outreach? I was a little bit unsure. I thought last time that we said that there might be opportunity for other members of the commission to also do outreach if they want to, but I wasn't sure what anyway, I'll stop talking. Thank you. That's my question.
Did anyone have an answer to that particular question before I move on to anyone else's comments? Tirsa? Commissioner Tirsa?
Yeah, I just wanted to answer Christian's last question. Yeah, there will be an opportunity for other commissioner members to also volunteer if they would like. Yeah, for town halls. That email has not gone out yet to the rest of the commission, but it is to follow.
Thank you. Commissioner Faith, you're next.
Thanks for those notes, Commissioner Christian. That's helpful. In answering the discussion question, I think my recommendation would be kind of the same of, we have the fillable form that populates a Google sheet, keep it transparent for everyone. And then if it could just be, my suggestion would be to have it as an agenda item in our full commission meetings, so we could review it. But I definitely would want the same information that we are note-taking to be open to any public viewer in the same way our meetings are open to the public. So just a consistent, the Google Sheet is up on the site and we can have an agenda item where we review and maybe have discussion from the commission on some of the barriers that came up from community members.
Thank you, Commissioner Faith. Your hand's still up, Commissioner Charlie, so I'm gonna go with you. And then I believe the Commissioner Seema had his hand up as well.
Commissioner Seema was before me.
Okay, I just thank you for so go. Yep.
Christian spoke clearly for me. I took the words out of my mouth, so we're good. There was a couple things I wanted to reflect on, especially like as far as report back communication. I think we had mentioned something about utilizing a Google form as a form of report back. So that was essentially what I wanted to kind of bring up as well.
Commissioner Charlie. Thank you, Commissioner Seema.
Yeah, everybody pretty much said what I was thinking, that, somehow we need to centralize everything and organize it into one spot. But so I'm wondering, like, would we individually be able to transcribe this information into this document? Are we going to give it to somebody else to do it, or how would that work? Or we just each individually go in and type in what we took notes on?
Support staff, can you answer that question?
I don't actually have an answer to that question. I think that's probably better directed to co-chair Tirsa, but I had an answer to a previous question, which was about the technical ability to put the spreadsheet up on the website. And that is definitely possible. It's also possible to do it as, basically a different file for each town hall, so that on the event page on the website, there's a file as a recap or whatever title associated. It's also possible to do both of those two things and have one place where you can see everything, one place where it's kind of formatted as a document. And to build off of co-chair Tirsa's previous point that it could be sent, who it could be sent to, that can be sent directly to staff. We'll talk more about this later, but there will eventually be a separate staff person focused on community engagement for this commission, and that person will certainly be able to lead on collating on and posting all that.
Mm.
Thank you, support staff. Commissioner Co-Chair Teresa, excuse me, not Teresa, Tirsa. Did you have an answer to?
Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm understanding your question correctly, Charlie. Are you asking if we should come up with our own questions or whether they'll be provided? I want to clarify.
You're still on mute, Commissioner Charlie.
I just muted myself instead of unmuted myself. So, no, I don't think we've gotten as far as the questions we're going to ask. But once we do get the questions and once we do get the input from community and we're taking those notes, are we individually going to be able to put those notes into these Google documents, or are we going to give them to somebody else to input?
That's a good question, and I think that perhaps member leads collectively should probably work on reporting that information back. So for instance, if like, I'll be working alongside Commissioner Connie and Commissioner Lavisa, and as opposed to all three individually, maybe like one of us can volunteer to take that on, or yeah, I think that can be discussed amongst the group as to what would work best, or all three. But yeah.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I know that was really probably not going to be able to be answered actually today, but something for us to think about. I'm assuming that this document is going to have these categories where we're going to go in and type in answers that we've got from community or input from community. Okay, then I had a thought, well, the three, Faith, Lovisa, and I could consolidate our information and then input it to get, I don't know. Yeah, just something to think about. How we post this information on this Google document. So I'm kind of just thinking out loud right now. Sorry.
And I just want to clarify, this is the document that you'll be going to the full commission. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, I just want to make sure that that's reiterated. Thank you, Commissioner Charlie. And did you have your hand up, Commissioner Tirsa? No, okay. Are there any other comments or questions or thoughts about the communication, community input, the member leads to follow when communication, community input, I can't say it. I'm having a hard time with this one. Sorry, y'all. Basically communicating with the commission about the information that you've gotten from the community. Do you have any more questions or thoughts or comments about that? Okay, so we'll go to, if we could put the slides up just to kind of show that we're going to the third chunk of the conversation, which is on, oh, I was getting so lost with this stuff. the process relates to the process of after the PAC acts on the issue area that the community input was given on. So communicating how PAC used community input back to the community. So we've talked a little bit about this already, and we just want to elaborate more. So of course, be brief, be facilitated, and be constructive, as you already all have been. Thank you for letting me repeat that 3 times. So any thoughts, comments, questions about this particular portion of the process of your town halls? Commissioner Fee.
I feel like because these conversations got merged that we're like, I feel like we're in a pretty good spot on this one.
Commissioner Faith, your hand's up still.
Sorry, no, I don't.
What is this?
I don't know.
Support staff?
Sorry, I was trying to get that shared earlier. Just took a second. That was the community engagement framework under objectives. It's just the part that talks about what this particularly is. This discussion is not sure why it's all kind of faded here, but it relates to the objective of having continuous communication, returning to communities at each phase. So this is kind of what that third discussion is about, is saying you gave us feedback before. This is how we used it, or this is where it played into the conversation.
Commissioner Charlie.
So I guess then we should talk about how we're going to do that. Are we going to do it individually to each person who had input, or back to our organizations that helped us to organize this, and let them disseminate that information? Or is it going to be just on our website? Or, yeah.
Commissioner Christian.
Sorry, I lowered my hand like 3 times there. I forgot my question, then remembered, then I had a different question. I just was thinking out
Like
loud.
you were thinking and want to speak.
The raising of the hand. Yeah, I think maybe my first thought is to go off of what Victoria said earlier about giving options. So maybe the reach back out with the information could be a similar situation where we kind of do it individually and then give them like, here are the options for like getting the information back. We have it on our website. If you'd like a more like in-depth, like we can have a more interpersonal dialogue rather than that, if that's easier for you, if you want us to like type it up in a different way. So like, again, not fully standardized, but there is a standardized option if that's preferred for them. I don't know. That's my first thought. I don't know how other people feel. Yeah.
Are there any other feelings or thoughts about what the commissioner said? Does that sound good to everybody? I see thumbs up. Yeah. Commissioner Tirsa.
That I really like that idea. I'm wondering though, what about when if we do run into a situation where a community member shared their feedback and feels like we did not use their information, how can they communicate that to us? Or yeah, it's just a question. I'm wondering.
Did you put your hand up again on purpose?
Oh, no.
Commissioner Christian?
Thank you. I think someone mentioned the like, what's it called? The tiny URL comment thing or whatever. I forget what it's called. Sorry for not being technical, but yeah, I don't know if that would be a possibility for that. Maybe that could be one of the options that we send in the like feedback email, or like, here's the information that we received, like give an option that's like, by the way, if you want to let your people know, or like if you feel like we misrepresented anything, here's a place where you can let us know, and then we'll take that into account. I don't know if there's a better way we could do it, or if we want to make a separate Google survey for people giving feedback, if that's easier. I don't know. Yeah, those are the two that come to mind.
I see Commissioner Charlie nodding their head. Does anyone have any comments on the commissioner's suggestion? See a thumbs up from Commissioner Faith and a hand up from Commissioner Charlie. Go ahead, Commissioner Charlie.
I'm just wanting to agree with Christian that previously we talked about having options, and I think that should be the same with feedback. There should always be a spot for feedback on wherever we're allowing or wanting the community to have access to, whether it's through one of us. Like, are they going to have access to us individually, or to the organization, and or our website, and or something paper form, whatever? I think there needs to be the opportunity for feedback after the fact in various places, or very specifically outlined where they can go, if they can. See, that's the problem. Not everybody is going to have computer access or internet access. So we need to be careful we're being inclusive. Yeah.
Commissioner Charlie. Commissioner Faith, did you ever respond to that? Response to that?
Yeah, I think this feels like a good earmark for our future phases of, we've made the commitment to listen to barriers now. We don't really know how we're going to totally incorporate the feedback right now. We'll have it documented, but I think that we do need to be accountable to bring it back in future phases of, Urko, we heard this from you. Here's how it was incorporated. Here's like where questions came up, or here's areas where, it didn't make it into whatever we're recommending. So maybe it is like a standing, a recurrent agenda piece for future phases of work of, hey, remember we heard this from community. How are we reporting back in its communication? And it might be a little bit of a homework assignment, particularly for folks who are leading town halls of, Charlie, myself, you, and Lavisa for the Native Indigenous community, that we're keeping it in our brains of, we heard these things, we want to make sure that we're coming back to you on how we've incorporated this in future phases.
Thank you, Commissioner Faith. Commissioner Charlie, is your hand still raised on purpose, or is it just, okay? I'm making sure, I'm looking at that corner a lot, make sure I don't miss you. Anyone else? Any other questions or feedback or comments about this particular commissioner? Can you say your name for me? Because I want to say it right. Yep.
You can say
I want to say it
Christian.
right. No, I want to say it right.
You can say Christian or Christian,
Christian,
either one.
thank
They're
you.
both fine. I mean, you can say it
Thank
in
you.
both languages, so it's not like
I-
specific to one or the other.
I
For me,
know.
um,
It's just
it's a bilingual name, so it's great either way.
that's my humanity come out. My humanity is
Okay.
coming out.
Yeah, you're welcome
Christian.
to say however, whichever one you want to do. But Christian is great, or Christian is fine. I respond to both. But thank you for asking. That's nice of you.
Yes.
I had a couple of questions. I don't think they are related to this specific thing, and they may be for a garden plot too. So I don't know if I should hold those questions for a second. I just wasn't sure if we were going to public comment next, so I wasn't sure when to pop them in. I was going to check.
We are going to public comment after
Okay.
this portion of the discussion, but if there are something that we want to put in the garden plot, please.
Okay, cool.
feel free to
Yeah,
ask
and
your questions.
I'm not sure where they fit in, and someone might have an answer now too, and they may have been answered a while ago, and I just forgot. So I'll just ask them.
Yeah, please ask. Yes, please ask.
I was curious. I was a logistical question about when we actually set up town halls and whatnot. If once we have the date and time set, or like the organization says, like, here's a time that worked great for us, like this works, this is what you want to, this is when we want you to come in, or whatever ends up happening, or if it's an event that they're organizing, would, if the member lead is not available the day and the specific time that they give, is there a possibility, or not a possibility, is it would we then call to the rest of the commission to be like, here's a town hall or an event that I was able to organize, or we were able to organize, but I'm not available that specific time that they had? Because I'm assuming we'd have to kind of base it around the event. Like, I'm sure we wouldn't want to be like, oh, I'm not available that day. Like, can you do it a different day?
Yes.
So that was one logistical question. I think we said that before, but I just wanted to check in on that because I wasn't sure couldn't remember that.
The answer to the question, that is yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And then the other one that I had was, and I think this would be for the next thing. This is more the garden plot one that I was thinking of, but how will we should we keep in mind, like, keep track of what communities we are talking to and which ones we may have not spoken to yet that we might want to speak to, just to make sure that we're hearing as many diverse voices as possible, because I feel like it is easy to fall into missing one or two because there's so many out there, so I don't know if there's a standardized practice for that right now, or if that's something that's going to be talked about later, but that was something that's just kind of floating in my head. I wanted to put it out there in case it was something other people were thinking about too. Thank you.
I know that this is something that's definitely going to be talked about in the next, after these 3 dates. So good question. Definitely something to put in the garden plot. But yeah, after we have these 3 dates set with the organizations that we already have out now, or that we're wanting to collaborate with, yeah, we'll follow up on more people just to make sure we have more diverse voices included in this conversation. Thank you for that. It is 8:47. I just wanted to give everybody a time check. Go ahead, Charlie. Commissioner Charlie.
I was wondering if there are other organizations that we really don't want to overlook and nobody steps up to reach out to them. Can we also invite them to the town hall at the I'm thinking it's going to end up being at NEA, but to like our town hall?
Commissioner Tirsa, can you answer that question?
Yes, the answer is yes. If you feel like the input from the members and that organization is valuable to our work, then yes, yeah, feel free, or please reach out and connect with them and invite them to a town hall. Yeah, we are not restricted to the organizations that were in that list that we came up with a couple months ago. We want as much feedback as possible. And then I guess I I kind of want to go back to the slide and kind of just and figure out or discuss whether we should be reporting. I mean, it's been brought up a couple of times, but if we should report back to the individuals or to the organizations. And if we do decide to report back to the individuals, how are we collecting that information?
Any suggestions? Commissioner Fee?
I think my preference would be to report back to organizations and also to make the invitation of like, this is public. So like, hey, here's an email reminder of this is where the information is contained. And then perhaps if there are folks who want personal communication, if we have an email, like they can sign up for our update list, or if, I mean, that sounds really impersonal. So if we're at an event and someone says, I'd love to talk to you again, I think that like, that would maybe be our responsibility as commissioners to then follow up with that relationship and that person of, hey, I heard your story and here's the impact it made on me and here's how we will incorporate it, and etc. So I know that's not a procedural response, but to me, it would be individually would be more about like the relationship follow-up, and everything else we would just, my hope would be as transparent as possible.
Any other comments on Commissioner Tierce's question? Thank you, Commissioner Faith. Okay. Okay, so I think at this point we'll go into public comment. Let's see here. We'll now take public comment on the issues the PAC is discussing, or community members can also tell their story about policing and police accountability. We ask members of the public to keep their comments or questions to 2 minutes in length and raise their hand in the Zoom if you'd like to speak. Okay. Dan Handelman, Commissioner Handelman, thank you.
Oh, good evening. Yes, this is Commissioner Dan Handelman. I use he, him pronouns. I'm just in the audience tonight observing. Thank you for an interesting meeting. I don't know if y'all saw in the Q&A, I raised a question because I heard from a couple of community members that they wrote to us using that tiny URL survey, and that I know I've never received anything from that form as a commissioner. And they staff just revealed that there was nobody capable of processing that. Hopefully that'll be changing soon. And that the second part was that the person, one of the people I talked to, tried to post a second comment and they weren't allowed to. It said, you've already filled this out. So the staff actually fixed that during this meeting. So that's very efficient. Unfortunate that happened before though. So I had two other comments relevant to what you're talking about. If you can reach out to the Citizen Review Committee, they did a survey about crowd control, and it went out to the right wing, white supremacist lists, and there's a bunch of people that wrote in saying how much they love the police and how protesters deserve to get beat up. I'm pretty sure that's not something that you want to really have to sit through. So there, it may be worthwhile if you're going to have a survey form for community engagement that one only allows you to fill it out once or something. I don't know how else to screen it, but just be aware that that's one downside of putting stuff online. And then somebody brought up the idea of a rehearsal, and it may be, especially because it may be a while before the first town hall is actually scheduled. And I know everybody's already stretched to the limits, but it might be a good idea to try doing something like that so that we're not turning the people at the town halls into experimental subjects. Instead, that we have experience seeing what it's like, taking those notes, putting them into that spreadsheet, and so that once the real things take place, that we have a system that understands. I say we, I'm hoping to be able to help with some of this. I'm really tied up with the research, but I think it's great to involve everybody in the commission on this community engagement. So those are my comments, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Dan Handelman. Were there any other comments from the public? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone raise their hands. So thank you to the members of the public, Commissioner Dan, for speaking up. And let's see, we go into the next steps. So this is, oh, sorry. Well, I believe next steps, Commissioner Tirsa, did you have any comments for next steps for our next meetings? Anything that you may want to?
Yes, so I guess within, like after this meeting, up until the next one, I think it will be scheduled and sometime in August. We should try to get some dates for town halls. And also I am listening to what commissioner members have shared, and there should be a follow-up email, hopefully offering some guidance for what the town halls can look like, since I myself would also appreciate some guidance around that.
Thank you for that. And I was going to kick it to support staff. So thank you, Commissioner Tirsa and support staff.
Yeah, so I'll just note that we'll look into the possibility of scheduling a rehearsal. Thank you for raising that for all who did, as well as potentially taking those notes that were in the chat about questions for a potential web form for member leads to fill out after a town hall and converting that into something a little bit more polished based off of the conversations from today. And then two other updates. First, there is currently one co-chair for this subcommittee. Subcommittees have two co-chairs according to the PAC internal processes document. So that will be resolved with at the full commission meeting this Thursday, the 21st. And secondly, the position has closed for the Police Accountability Commission Engagement and Communications Coordinator. It takes quite a while of interviews and offer letters and different processes to get folks actually starting their position, but that process is in motion. There are candidates, there are progress on that hiring, and hopefully towards the end of the month a person will be chosen and onboarded sometime in August as the communications and engagement coordinator, which is the second full-time staff position devoted to this commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Some of those dates possibly would be like the 1st, 8th, and the 15th of August for the next meeting. So we'll be look in your email to figure out when that will happen and any other pertinent information. Okay, so let's quickly go into the garden plot. And thank you, Charlie, just in case you disappear. Just thank you for your time and your service. Go ahead, Victoria.
Thank you. And I have a couple of things, but if I'm missing something, please let me know. The first thing is about the idea of using the TINE URL as to share with the community as a survey what community can use and give their input. The second thing I have is about the question about finding out how much will be or is possible to pay to the CBOs, to the organization for these town halls. This is a contribution. And then the third is more like a question, finding out who will in the process transcribing the notes once at the town halls and somebody taking notes, how or when or how or who will be transcribing the notes. And the last thing that they have is for Commissioner Dan, or his suggestion about town hall rehearsal. And and I'm missing one that really put review which groups are not included in the list that will be important to have included, and to either invite them to other town halls or just reach out to them directly in order to have a diverse voice and everybody know about the PAC. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Okay, so that is our garden plot recap. We just want to thank you, everyone. Let's see, what time do we have right now? I can't see anything because my computer is doing weird stuff. Oh, we are 9:01. We are like on point, y'all. All right, so thank you all for your time here today. We finished on time today. Your input was magical and wonderful, and yes, I use fun language like that when I communicate. Thank you, all the interpreters, for supporting access to the meetings of the Police Accountability Commission and the subcommittees for all Portlanders. Thank you to the members of the public for being here and contributing your questions and thoughts. You can give written public comment in advance of future meetings at tinyurl.com Portland PAC comment. And also please sign up for email updates on the Police Accountability Commission at tinyurl.com/Portland PAC updates. Thank you again. Have a great evening, and we'll see you on Thursday, the full commission's meeting.